Hi, my name is Alessandra,
And I'm Alondra.
and this is my sister, and I will be interviewing her as my mentor for my project. I decided to choose her because she has mentored me in many aspects of my life, but I specifically wanted to interview her on her experience traveling and how she has influenced me to travel. And I also thought it would be nice to do our makeup together because she taught me how to do her makeup. Okay, so I know everybody knows what traveling is, but I decided to interview you because you've had a very unique experience traveling, and I kind of just wanted to hear your little explanations on your type of traveling.
When it comes to traveling, there's a lot of different types that you could do, right? But I think one of the most impactful experiences that I had traveling was more so doing a long-term stay at a place. I think once I started to do those type of experiences, it allowed me to immerse myself a little bit more into the culture and like local activities versus just, checking off the monuments and like touristy things to do in each location.
So, building off of that, why did you start traveling? Because I know obviously everybody wants to travel, but like, how did you get started? What motivated you?
I think one of the biggest pieces of travel I started with was my study abroad trip that I did my junior year of college. I think this was my first exposure of like staying at a place for an extended amount of time. And then not only that, but I was pretty much like alone while doing it. So it kind of exposed me to a little bit of like solo travel with some structure behind it still. So I wasn't like completely alone in planning every part of my experience.
Because you are the reason that I decided to study abroad during my college years. So can you tell me about some of the favorite memories that you've had while traveling, or what has been like the craziest thing?
I think the craziest thing that happened when I was planning my study abroad trip was that my apartment got canceled like a couple of days before I was supposed to leave. So that really exposed me to like quick thinking and figuring things out as you go. Like not everything is gonna be set in stone all the time, and luckily the person that had rented the place out for me was able to help me find another host family that could take me in.
Okay, so why did you encourage me to start traveling?
I think a way that I really encouraged Alessandra to start traveling was during the pandemic. Travel was still a little bit taboo, but it allowed a lot of people to leave the United States and go to countries that had less travel restrictions. So I was abroad in Mexico, which is like where we're from, and I felt comfortable being there because I was familiar with the language, just like everything felt homey even though we were away from home. And I told Alessandra to come visit me during this time, and I think it really expanded her horizons when it comes to doing things on her own. I kind of asked her to meet me at the town I was staying at, but it was like an hour and a half away from the actual airport she landed, and I told her to just figure it out. And I think that it kind of helped her understand like the importance of being independent and talking around and figuring out what to do without having much direction to begin with.
No, because that was so scary to me, because since she didn't have service because she was at the beach, and I landed in like Cancun or something, and I'm supposed to take a bus to like the smaller town. And then the bus that I was supposed to get left me, and then I was left stranded, and then I was like, okay, well, time to problem solve. And it ended up taking me like 8 hours to actually get to my destination because I had to wait so long. But I made friends along the way, and it was a cute like little story to tell now.
And I think something that was really interesting about that experience was one of the persons that she met on that bus ride actually inspired our next destination that we had, which was Puerto Escondido.
Yeah. So it's cool because you get to like meet people and expand your horizons.
Yep.
So the next question I have for you is, since you mentioned that you worked while traveling, has there been any difficulties balancing traveling and also like your daily life back home?
Yeah, I think my first time that I started to work abroad, it was a job that I had little to no training on. So I actually started my first job post-grad during COVID, and during this time I was traveling. It was interesting because I had to fly back home to pick pick up my laptop and start my new program that I was doing. And shortly after that, I had already made plans to stay in another part of Mexico for about 2 months. So I really had to learn the importance of like work-life balance. I would wake up early and leave my other roommates behind in the room while they got to do whatever they wanted and explore the town. So dealing with a lot of FOMO at the same time, but this was something that I had worked for and wanted, so it pushed me to focus a lot more and give my all during the work hours, but also allow myself the grace to enjoy myself after work and wind down without having that guilt of not doing anything after that was work related. And fortunately, the fact that it was remote during the pandemic allowed me to travel. And I kind of always had that in the back of my mind, like, what if like there's not another opportunity to ever do this because we were going through like a pandemic.
And I also would just like to add that I chose this activity because I feel like traveling is a privilege and not many get to experience it or get exposure to it, but I felt like luckily I had somebody in my family who introduced me to it, and I feel like it's really cool to be able to say like that I went to all these places and like I got to do a lot of them like with my sister, and that's very fortunate.
We're
like,
filming
that's a
this
privilege.
video in another country right now too.
Right, yes. Well, thank you so much for doing this with me.
You're welcome.